You just keep talking, a never-ending stream of words with no real substance. The voters aren't backing the women on The View because they're completely out of touch with most Americans. Maybe it's time they got their news from independent sources instead. For years, Whoopi Goldberg ruled The View like a queen, shutting down guests, steamrolling opposing opinions, and delivering her takes as if they were absolute facts. But in one shocking moment, that iron grip on daytime TV came undone, all thanks to Karoline Leavitt. No one saw it coming. The episode started off like any other. Smug laughter, eye rolls, and a panel of heads nodding in unison, all perfectly aligned with the show's left-leaning agenda. But then everything changed.
She's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
Whoopi, as self-assured as ever, leaned back, ready to steer yet another conversation. Then the topic of wokeness came up, a term The View practically worships, a concept they defend like it's the very foundation of their existence. Because let's be honest, it kind of is. Feeling invincible, Whoopi took the first shot, her signature smirk creeping onto her face. She pointed at Karoline and boldly declared, "Without wokeness, you wouldn't even have this job." And just like that, bam, the entire energy in the room shifted, the audience tensed. Even Joy Behar, who built an entire career on mocking conservatives, shifted uncomfortably in her chair.
That was so good.
What Whoopi says next is exactly what you'd expect, predictable and downright irritating. After all these years as a host, you'd think she'd come up with something a little more original, but nope, here we are. Let's see what tired line she throws out this time.
And is everything rigged?
No, it's their MO. That's what they do. Rachel Maddow said last week, she's like, if the election is lost, it was rigged. If there's a debate, then the moderators are probably biased and they're prejudiced against me.
The atmosphere was thick with tension as everyone braced for what was coming next. And let's just say, Whoopi wasn't ready for the response she was about to get. This wasn't just a simple disagreement or a playful back and forth. This was Whoopi Goldberg taking a direct shot at Karoline Leavitt's entire career, her intelligence, her work ethic, dismissing everything she had accomplished as nothing more than a byproduct of the very ideology she opposed. It was condescending, dismissive, and designed to belittle her completely. Yet despite the obvious insult, the audience clapped like they were on autopilot, some even chuckled, but there was a subtle unease in the air, a tension that suggested they knew Whoopi had crossed a line. They just weren't sure if they were allowed to acknowledge it. But Karoline, she didn't flinch, she didn't stumble, didn't scramble for a snappy comeback or rush to defend herself. Instead, she did something far more powerful. She smiled, a slow, knowing smile that said, "Oh, you just made a big mistake." It wasn't cocky or overconfident. It was the expression of someone who knew she had the facts, the evidence, and the composure to turn the entire situation on its head. And with a calm so unshakable it was almost unsettling, she did exactly that. This was something the audience had never seen before. Karoline started with hard facts, cold, undeniable numbers that couldn't be brushed off with sarcasm or a dismissive wave of the hand. She broke down government spending reports, showing precisely how taxpayer dollars were being funneled into absurdly woke initiatives, gender studies programs in Guatemala, Sesame Street adaptations designed to export American social activism overseas, and a long list of eyebrow-raising projects that raised more questions than answers. With surgical precision, she connected the dots, exposing how wokeness had evolved from a social movement into a political weapon, one designed to silence, control, and punish anyone who dared to challenge it. And Whoopi? She wasn't laughing anymore.
Most divisive and disgusting speech that any president, certainly in my lifetime, has ever given. He essentially waged war on half of the country by saying that we are all a threat to democracy because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border, a strong military, and to unleash the might of your own economy, not economies around the world.
She's incredibly articulate, isn't she? It's honestly baffling that the hosts of The View chose to mock her instead of supporting another woman. It really says a lot about their underlying agenda. Let's see how this plays out. I have a feeling Karoline is about to drop even more truth bombs that they won't be able to ignore.
You know, we have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
The woman who had built her career on dominating conversations, shutting down conservative voices, and bulldozing through uncomfortable topics was suddenly on the defensive. Whoopi shifted in her seat, the usual smirk gone, her hands fidgeting as if searching for something to hold on to. She was used to guests stumbling over their words, struggling to keep up with her rapid-fire comebacks. But this time, the tables had turned. No matter how much she wanted to fire back and steer the conversation in her favor, she couldn't. Karoline wasn't giving her the chance. For the first time in ages, it was clear to everyone watching, Whoopi Goldberg had backed herself into a corner, and there was no easy way out. She opened her mouth, then shut it, opened it again, still nothing. The words just wouldn't come. The audience, usually quick to cheer her on, sat frozen in uncomfortable silence. Even The View's most loyal fans didn't know how to react. The energy in the room had shifted, and for once, no one knew whether to laugh, clap, or just wait for Whoopi to say something. Anything to regain control. Even the camera crew hesitated. Should they zoom in on Whoopi's stunned expression, capturing the moment she realized she had trapped herself, or cut to commercial and hope the viewers wouldn't notice? Whoopi, always ready with a snide remark or dismissive gesture, now sat stiffly in her chair, clearly wishing she could disappear into it. She had walked straight into a trap, and there was no easy escape. And here was the real question that Karoline had exposed. If wokeness is truly about diversity and inclusion, then why are conservative women the ones being attacked? Why is it that those who preach tolerance turn vicious when confronted with someone who doesn't fall in line with their ideology? In that moment, Whoopi Goldberg realized she had no comeback, no sharp retort, no witty remark to flip the situation in her favor. The silence dragged on, and everyone felt it. Desperate to recover, Joy Behar jumped in, forcing out a nervous joke in a last-ditch attempt to break the tension. But the damage was done. Whoopi had done something she had never done before. She had completely unraveled on live television.
If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on. Right. That's what you hear. Yeah. When they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about what they have to say.
It's tough to watch, isn't it? The way her arguments come across, so childish and dismissive, especially when she's faced with facts she can't easily refute. It really makes you wonder how someone like her continues to have such a strong voice and following. It's frustrating to see someone who so clearly lacks substance still holding on to a platform. Maybe it's because she's been a fixture of daytime TV for so long, but at this point you'd think she would have been replaced by someone capable of bringing more thoughtful discussion to the table. Honestly, it's baffling.
They talk at you, not to you, and that's what she was doing, and she was doing it, and it's not new.
No.
But everybody's hip to you all now.
Yeah.
And we are anticipating that you are not prepared. Because you keep saying you going and you preparing when you're on the trail.
And the internet? Oh, the internet went wild. Memes, reaction clips, endless commentary. Within minutes, Whoopi's stunned expression was everywhere, replayed on a loop across social media. But here's where it gets even crazier. This wasn't the first time Whoopi had landed herself in hot water by running her mouth. Over the years, she's turned The View into a lawsuit factory, dragging ABC from one controversy to the next. From tone-deaf comments about the Holocaust to bizarre defenses of questionable figures, Whoopi has been at the center of some of the show's most scandalous moments. But nothing hit ABC harder than the recent wave of defamation lawsuits. First it was Carrie Underwood, then Elon Musk, and now Karoline Leavitt. One lawsuit after another, piling up, making it harder and harder for ABC to ignore the cost of Whoopi's unchecked commentary. And the worst part? This time, Whoopi had no one else to blame, no one to throw under the bus. Let's talk about Carrie Underwood. When Carrie performed at Trump's second swearing-in ceremony, Whoopi and her co-hosts went after her, mercilessly. They didn't just criticize her performance, they went full-on savage. They mocked her, claimed she had destroyed her career, and even suggested she was now aligned with hate. It was a full-blown character assassination, and they expected Carrie to just sit back and take it. But Carrie? She did something no one saw coming. Instead of issuing a vague PR statement or tweeting some half-hearted response, she filed $1 billion defamation lawsuits against The View. And when that case finally made it to court, something explosive surfaced, something that no one, not even Whoopi, was ready for.
That you saw live on this program yesterday. Joy Behar stirring the pot of controversy after saying this about Karoline.
She's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Do you want to take this?
No, you cannot be attractive and smart. I will try to give Joy the benefit of, oh, thank you. I try to give Joy the benefit of the doubt that she didn't see that briefing. Because if you saw that yesterday on numerous topics, no big binder, I think she might have had a different impression of this young woman who held her own.
It's refreshing to see someone break free from The View's scripted bias. Watching someone confidently stand their ground with facts feels like a win, especially when the usual voices start to unravel. Hearing a different perspective, free from the typical agenda, is truly satisfying.
I mean, you would have to give her the benefit of the doubt that she did absolutely no research or reading about anything dealing with Karoline Levitt before she made that remark. Because Karoline Levitt worked, I mean, she went to St. Anselm College, she worked for WMUR
Ran for
TV.
Congress?
In New Hampshire, she ran for Congress at the age of 25, put out a very good campaign.
Karoline's credentials are impressive, and it's great to see her getting the recognition she deserves. On the flip side, Whoopi's accomplishments are harder to define these days. While she had a strong start in acting, her recent contributions seem more focused on stirring controversy than fostering meaningful dialogue. Her status on The View feels more like a product of tenure than any real value she's bringing to the table. It's hard to point to anything substantial she's done lately.
She lost by 8 or 9 points, but she still put on a good campaign. Then she was the press secretary for the Trump campaign, going on TV literally every day.
Well, heavily pregnant and a new mom.
Pregnant. Yeah, she's a new mother. And then she goes out yesterday and gives an... And this, again, this is speaking very objectively, because I've watched every press secretary since going back to Marlon Fitzwater. Yeah, I'm that old. And she went out there for her very first briefing at the age of 27 years old, the youngest press secretary ever, and did a terrific job.
Leaked emails revealed that ABC had intentionally orchestrated the attack on Carrie Underwood to boost ratings. It wasn't an accidental slip. It was a calculated smear campaign designed to create controversy, spark outrage, and keep The View trending. When the truth came out, the industry was shaken. ABC executives scrambled into full damage control mode, ultimately forced to settle for a massive undisclosed sum. Behind the scenes, whispers began about whether The View was even worth the trouble anymore. But just when they thought the storm had passed, Elon Musk happened. Whoopi and the host spent months portraying Musk as a dangerous figure, spreading false claims about Twitter's policies under his ownership. Musk wasn't about to let that slide. He sued, and suddenly, The View was back in crisis mode. Advertisers, once loyal to the show, began pulling back, tired of the constant scandals. The show's reputation as a ratings goldmine started to tarnish, and big-name sponsors began questioning whether it was worth the risk. As the lawsuits piled up, the cracks in The View grew deeper. The once unstoppable force led by Whoopi Goldberg was now crumbling. With 3 lawsuits and advertisers jumping ship, the network found itself in full panic mode. The View was no longer the asset it once was, and ABC couldn't stop the spiral.
Yeah. I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation.
She's talking in circles, but Karoline is the one truly standing up. She's the hero here, pushing back against all of this.
The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason. Because black people couldn't get into colleges. Because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. Yeah. See, this is not black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our...
Whoopi Goldberg's time on The View came to an unexpected end after years of dominating the show and silencing opposing views. The final blow came after her showdown with Karoline Leavitt, which exposed her vulnerabilities on live TV. ABC tried to spin it as a break for Whoopi, but it was clear she had been let go. The network went into full damage control as advertisers pulled their support and loyal fans began questioning the show's future. With Whoopi gone, The View stands at a major crossroads. Will they bring in someone like her to maintain the status quo, or is it time for a change in direction? Is this the beginning of the end for the show? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.